خبيرة الأزياء والموضة وسي او سابقة لدبي فاشن ديزاين اند فاشن كونسل. عملت سابقا كخبيرة في الموضة لأسماء كبيرة مثل ديفيد اند فيكتوريا باكم. اسمحوا لي أن أرحب بنز جبريل على المنصة.
Wow, what a day. I want to really thank May for this opportunity to listen to some of the most inspirational women and to give someone like me confidence that we're doing the right thing and there's a community and we're supporting each other. Now, I guess I feel like I'm the fluff in all of this because, you know, my industry is fashion and entertainment. It's not politics. And I asked the team, so what is it you want me to talk about? And they said, talk about, you know, what influenced you as an Arab woman? What did you face? Initially, I was like, I didn't face any problems. And then I started thinking about what formed me as a person. And there was a few main factors. Obviously, my parents, my early years, not just fluffy animals. So my presentation's a little bit light, just to keep you entertained. But really, you know, my heritage is a Libyan heritage. My parents came from a very well-established family. We lost everything, but they never believed they lost anything. They believed education was their wealth, and that's something that they always instilled in us as children. And they always, you know, quoted the Quran as saying, you follow the furthest light in terms of education. One of the main influences in my life, particularly in the creative world, was actually, well, that's another lesson. So 2 main lessons. I said yes to every challenge and opportunity to learn, purely because of the fact that my parents encouraged me. Actually, the biggest feminist in our family was my father. And emotional intelligence, and that's something that was resonant in me as a woman. You know, I feel we're very able and capable to use the emotional intelligence in business, and I'll show you how later I use this. In terms of creativity, this is me and my mother, a big influence, my grandfather, my brother and I. But in terms of creativity, it was my mother. You know, there wasn't anything in the house that she hadn't embroidered, painted, ceramic, but she'd never had that piece of paper. She married when she was 17. So after we went to university, she then went to university. Every day she traveled 4.5 hours. She got a distinction, a 2-1. She sells all over the world in prestigious locations like the Guggenheim, the Royal Academy of Art, in boutiques across the world, including now happily in Dubai, where I'm based. Now, when I was talking about earlier on what factor as an Arab woman affected me. I don't know if any of you remember the incident in the Libyan embassy in London. I was a small girl then, and then later on Lockerbie. So I went from no one really knowing where Libya was, and I was just part of the community, a happy child, to being a terrorist. My best friend who came to my home every single day was not allowed to come to my home anymore. That had a profound effect on me. And that made me realize the power of the media as well. And it made me also be able to realize that what I saw was not necessarily reality. So the perception of reality thing was also a big thing, which brought it back to emotional intelligence. And I realized that media was such a powerful tool, I wanted to work with it in some kind of way in the future. You know, as a family, I had a lot to live up to. My father got awarded an OBE by the Queen, which is one of the biggest accolades in the UK. My brother is a physicist, photographer, talented writer. And of course, you know, wanting to please my parents, and I please encourage other children not to do the same. He was a typical Arab father. He wanted me to study medicine, follow in his footsteps. And I wanted to study fine art. But I decided in my young head that environmental biology was kind of in the middle and would be fine. And it wasn't. It was a big mistake. I hated those years. But it was a very, very important lesson in my time to, again, go back to emotional intelligence and learn. So one of the first experiences I said yes to was going to Afghanistan. This also had a profound effect on me. Afghanistan at the time, this is in '96, people were tired of the issue of Afghanistan. There'd been the war, there'd been this. But I didn't quite realize that no textbook can ever prepare you. So again, travel was such a key aspect to my life. I saw some of the most beautiful and most harrowing things over there, which again took me back. And one thing that I always heard was funding. I couldn't understand, the power of media again. I'll have to let you into a secret then, let's stay there. So I went back to the UK after traveling around Afghanistan. By the way, during the Taliban taking over, I had all sorts of crazy experiences with armed guards aimed at the plane. But again, it was one of those challenging moments that I took back in a positive way. I went back to the UK. I started from scratch again because I wanted to start in an industry, fundraising and marketing. Marketing, again, because of the power of the word. I volunteered Womankind Worldwide, Fair Trade Foundation, until I got a job at Refugee Council and then at Amnesty International. At Amnesty, I got asked to go on the Eurythmics tour. I don't know if you know who the Eurythmics are. It's Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart. And they asked me to travel globally with them on this tour and organize all the fundraising, PR, marketing initiatives with each Amnesty office. And it wasn't, funnily enough, going on, tour with a music legend like Annie Lennox. It was actually the opportunity to travel that I was most excited about and learn more about Amnesty and how its work was providing and affecting in terms of human rights. Of course, my Arab parents my goddaughter is going on a music tour. They were thinking the Rolling Stones. They were thinking sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They were panicking. But actually, they were two of the most health-conscious people. It was all hummus and carrot sticks, so they had nothing to worry about. This is where I met my future boss, Simon Fuller. He was quite taken aback by how calm I was with dealing with all types of people. It took him possibly a year to persuade me to work with him. And I said yes. And I thought, why not? Again, I went into another industry I knew nothing about. That's me and Simon. So if you don't know who Simon is, he created American Idol and the Idol franchise. His genius was really understanding what people wanted. We never used research or management consultants. He was dead against that. He felt that using your emotional intelligence was key because we were dealing with people. And having to develop that instinct to know what people wanted was part of our DNA. We went into football, we started off with TV and film, we went into F1, tennis. I traveled the world, lived the world, all because I said yes to opportunities. The only instant I ever had an issue with being a woman was in Formula One. It was a little boys' club. So on my way back from the US, my boss called me again. Imagine I had all my luggage, having been living in Los Angeles for a while. He said, I want you to come to Nice. So I had to go via LA to London, straight to Nice, an hour into the mountains. No clue what was happening. He wouldn't tell me. I felt like it was some kind of secret service, 007. I found myself on a speedboat, this is the actual photo, heading to a meeting I had no idea. So I thought to myself, I'm either going to be meeting royalty or someone more famous than the Pope. Actually, it was a bit of both. It was David and Victoria. It was a very low-key, fun day, but I never, at the time, it wasn't really, open that I would be working with them. It was just, I was part of Simon's senior management team. But before too long, Simon calls me into his office. He says, "Are you up for a challenge?" Knowing that I would say yes. He said, "You have 20 minutes, go and pack, get on a plane and go to Madrid. I want you to manage David Beckham." I was like, "Well, I know nothing about football." He said, "It's not about football, but it's about, again, the use of language, understanding people and developing that business." So for David, it was, in terms of strategy, it was very easy. At the time, he was, working on 35 commercial businesses. We brought it down to 5 major deals with more money because his equity was about being a footballer, a great footballer, and people were criticizing him because they felt his wife was influencing him to spend less time on the pitch. So we changed that. As his popularity grew, we also thought about the future as well. So we got him involved in the Olympics. And again, using the power of the word, when we moved to LA Galaxy, we used a very clever little word that we said about the deal. It was the potential of $250 billion. Potential didn't mean the deal was $250 million. It was just the potential. The media swiped that, and it became a $250 million deal. So now the real challenge was Victoria. I think it's quite honest to say, and just between us in this room, she was probably one of the most disliked people I have ever worked with, by media, by industry people. I was shocked by the kind of response that people had towards her. And, my gut instinct was there was something about her. And, at the end of the day, people were obsessed. They were obsessed by them. So with this in mind, Coty, which is a big fragrance house, they came to us and they were just focused on David. And I said, "You're missing a trick. People are obsessed with the two of them as a couple, like it or hate it. They want to know what he smells like, yes, but they also want to know what she smells like, because he is attracted to that. He is married to her." And they're like, "Oh, you might have a point." So off they went, did their market research, spent a lot of money, wasted a lot of money, came back. They said, "You know what? You're right. People are obsessed with her. They want to know what he's attracted to." Within a year, that business was worth $100 million. So it was a good emotional intelligence lesson. Now, reinventing Victoria, she was used to the music industry. It was very, very fast. I needed her to have integrity. We inherited an abysmal music contract. I got her out of that. And I focused really what she was about at the time. It was about her hair, her handbags, her jeans, her this and that. And so I went about and basically did deals with all of those. So we did a denim deal with a DV logo. People actually paid $350 for those jeans. We did handbags for Samantha Tavasa, we did glasses. I needed her to learn the trade. I needed people to believe that she knew what she was talking about. And then, of course, we made friends. This was really key. I knew once I got her in front of those editors, in front of the media, in front of industry people, they would actually like her. She's a very tenacious, charming, entrepreneurial woman. When I felt she was ready, it was time to do her own line, and this is where I brought in Roland Murray. We also reinvested in him and relaunched him. The one thing that people couldn't argue about was she had the eye of the consumer, and that's what we really built the business on. We looked at everything. We could not fail because people were always looking to them to fail. And even just between us, as a little secret, we only produced 200 dresses because I wanted the media to have that strapline, "She sold out." And she did. So, another victory. When I felt that she was ready, I'd been at 19 for over 10 years at that point, I kind of woke up one day and realized I hadn't been living my life. I was way, way over the hill in terms of an Arab woman getting married. So I found the man, I got married. It also coincided with my precious mother dealing with breast cancer, nearly losing, her to breast cancer. And I wanted that time with her and with the family. And I wanted to prioritize me. So that's what I did. And actually in that time, I ended up working very closely with various companies. I worked in London, New York, set up my own business. And I really got into mentoring in an earnest way, in a structured way, because I've always been struck by talent. It's a God-given thing. And I love to nurture, share my knowledge. Then, the opportunity as CEO, DDFC, this is weight gain, came on board. It was an unknown entity. And I really saw this as my chance to give back to the region and the people that I loved, an opportunity I'd never had before. My father comes from Libya. I would never have the opportunity to go back there. The Libya I know is not a Libya that they know anymore. It's a nostalgia, now that I've lost my grandmother, there's nothing that pulls me to that. So I thought, Dubai is this great place where it has over 200 nationalities. It's an Arab country, yes, it's very forward, it has the energy that I love. And funnily enough, it really struck me and reminded me of Victoria. So before I had started the job, I've always, thrown myself in the deep end, and I went to all sorts of lectures all around the UAE and exhibitions, and I saw some gaps quite clearly. And the same way that Victoria needed strong foundations, integrity, so did Dubai. Luckily, this insight turned out to be quite useful, because within my first probably 2 weeks of being in the job, I had to write a 5-year strategy. I also had to manage 15 board members, the who's who of the industry. I had the formidable Dr. Amina Rostamani, who, if you don't know her, please look her up. She was a chairman. I had people like Patrick Shalhoub and Khaled Al-Taya. So I had a small team, so I really needed to use their resources. So what I did, within the strategy, I split it into initiatives. Each initiative, I created a group of board members and put actually one of the board members as the lead of that initiative, gave them the responsibility. So for example, Patrick Shalhoub is head of the Dubai Fashion Week strategy, Ali Jaber, the design and education. So it worked quite well. We released 2 major studies, and I was shocked to know that there wasn't these statistics before. What does design mean in the MENA region? Where are the gaps? What's the potential? All of this we did in these reports. And one of the biggest gaps, and where there was a lot of appetite from higher government, was education. And there we go again, it's all about education. So we set about incubating the Dubai Institute of Design and Innovation. Innovation being a word that seems to be everywhere now. And I challenge people to know what the word actually means. But anyway, we partnered, and now that we were an official body, we partnered with the likes of MIT and Parsons, education institutes that really weren't interested in coming to the region in the past. But now they were happy to work with us. We've developed a completely bespoke curriculum, and the institute will be at the Dubai Design District, which is in Dubai, and we're hoping, I don't know if you know anything about the district, but it has the full ecosystem there. It has designers, it has Chanel, it has the big retail partners. So we're hoping that these kids that go through university will be able to have, again, opportunities to showcase, to be mentored, to have internships, and eventually job opportunities. Something else that I noticed and we tried to do were brands were beginning to understand the need to speak locally, and understanding that we weren't just one big country in the Middle East. We got the stakeholders to focus on supporting the design industry. Again, mentoring, showcasing, and retail support were the big gaps. We introduced a level of competitiveness, because I think that's really important for designers. We introduced the DDFC Vogue Arabia Fashion Prize and also IWP. I always felt it was really important to highlight to our commercial stakeholders the importance of supporting regional talent. I want you to all understand their success is our legacy. So, you know, from a personal level, I was also getting contacted from designers wanting time with me to advise and mentor. And I have to be honest, it gave me great pride to do so and so much happiness. And I'm really thrilled, actually. There's a couple of the designers from Jordan here today. If you don't know them, please go and buy from them. So having built something from scratch, like the Dubai Design Fashion Council, it's like having a baby. I don't know if any of you have started up your own business, you'll understand that. And actually, in the last year, I had my own baby. Out of the blue, completely naturally, at 44, I had this little miracle child. And I have to say, it's probably one of the single most important jobs that I've ever had. And I feel blessed. And you know what? Again, it's about using emotional instinct. Thank you. So coming back to, you know, being an Arab, I think it's clear to say I saw it as my strength, and really to be able to see things from other people's perspective, not just my own, through all my life experiences. Perception as opposed to reality. Saying yes was difficult, but really important. So I challenge you all to say yes to every opportunity. Use your emotional intelligence and your gut instinct, and support those around you. Thank you for listening. Thank you.